Welcome to Joe Knows. Wow, it's March 2nd today, 2021, and boy, I got up this morning and the sun was shining, and it's been a while between winter storms and rain and everything else here in Texas. Now, I know I'm in Texas, not some of your other places, but looks like it's going to be a great week weather-wise, and really glad that you took the time to listen in today. We are kind of doing a series I've called Wisdom from Proverbs. So I want to continue that, and I want to start out with a story and just try and just tell you something that will have, I'll connect it to some of the wisdom that we get in the Proverbs. When I was growing up, I was about, I think, 11 or 12 years old, and my parents, thankfully, my dad was in a position financially to be able to have braces for me. I had a very crowded mouth, my teeth were crooked, and not everyone today, we think braces are a right, but they really are a privilege, and they certainly were then. So I went to the orthodontist, and he put the braces on. Now, I started to figure things out when it comes to braces. You see, they put these it's very innocent. They put these bars on your teeth and little caps on some of the teeth as well. And it seems innocent. But then you start going in for your appointments, usually every 2 weeks or so. And then they start taking wires and wrapping the wires around the bar. And then they tighten the wire, okay? Which they're hoping is going to move the tooth. And then you go home, and for 3 days, your mouth feels like it's about to explode, okay? And I really didn't like that. I didn't like the whole braces thing, and I certainly didn't see it as a privilege. And after a while, I started to get an idea. You know, you're there when they're working on your mouth, and my sister happened to work for the orthodontist, and she had access to his tools, his equipment. And I knew when I would go in to see him, I usually would make 1 out of every 4 meetings. He would set appointments, and I would miss 3 out of 4, okay? I just wasn't into it. And when I would show up, and he would then ask me where I was, and I would tell him I was traveling on vacation, traveling for business. I'm 11 years old, I'm kidding. I just wasn't interested in going, and when he would tighten those bars, I knew what was about to happen. So I was able to get my sister to let me borrow the tool that he would use to tighten the wire. So he would tighten it, I would go home that night, and I would loosen it. And this went on for quite a while. I didn't do it every time, but most times. When they started hurting like that, I was like, I ain't dealing with this kind of pain. So here's what happened. I wound up wearing braces for 6 years, and my teeth, at least the bottom, are still crooked. So I fooled him, didn't I? So at the end of the 6 years, he actually said, I'm done with you. Joe Centineo, I am done. Bring your parents in and tell them, I'm not doing this anymore. You miss most of the appointments, and for some reason, your teeth aren't moving, and I know somehow you're part of it, and I'm maybe embellishing this slightly, but that's basically what happened. And he said, here's what I'm going to do. We're done. I've helped you as much as I can. It had to do with my attitude, not his ability as an orthodontist. He said, I'm going to take an impression of your teeth now, and and he did, and then he gave me a retainer, okay? One for the top, one for the bottom. It was in a little blue canister, and he gave it to me, and I took it home. And you can imagine that I don't think I ever opened it. I put it in the drawer and went on with my life. I was happy to have the braces off. About 2 or 3 years later, I happened to be going through my desk, cleaning out a desk drawer, and I found the blue box, which I didn't remember what it was, because I only seen it that one time. And I opened it up, and I said, oh, the retainers. And I said, wow, let me see what they would feel like. And I went to put these retainers on that would have fit perfectly 2 or 3 years before when he took the impression, and neither one would fit. So what had happened was, the retainer is to make sure that when the teeth have been moved somewhat, that they'll stay where they've moved to, and you wear the retainer usually at night. They want you to wear it as much as you can. It prevents the teeth from moving, but unbeknownst to me, all those 2 or 3 years, my teeth were moving. I didn't even know it. I didn't even know it. And my teeth moved back into wrong alignment. And if you look at my lowers, you'll see crooked teeth. So it's really interesting that you don't always know when things are changing in your life and when you're moving. And sometimes you may be moving in the right direction, but sometimes you may be moving in a wrong direction. Now, we're talking about wisdom from Proverbs. Proverbs talks to us about how who we are, what we do, how we act, is going to be affected by the people that we choose to spend time with. Okay, you get that? And sometimes you say, well, I have some friends and I have some people that I associate with, and they're not really the best people, but they don't affect me, or so you think. Because I had no idea that my teeth were moving during that 2 or 3 year period after I was kicked out of the orthodontist program. But when I put that retainer on, I learned something, that my teeth had moved and I didn't even know it. The Bible talks to us about being very careful who we surround ourselves with. I want to read it to you. Again, Proverbs chapter 1. Listen to what it says. It says, "My son, if sinners, people doing wrong, entice you, do not consent. If they say, 'Come with us, let us lie in wait for blood. Let us ambush the innocent without reason.'" Maybe the idea, this is, they would sometimes attack people and take what they had. This is if people entice you to get things in the wrong way. It says, it goes on and says they're enticing them to do things. It says, "Throw in your lot among us. We will all have one purse." Hey, let's do this together. We figured out a way to accumulate stuff, and come join us and we'll share it. Okay? Here's what it says. "My son, do not walk in the way with them. Do not walk in the path with people who are going about getting the things that life has to offer in the wrong way. Hold back your foot from their path, for their feet run to evil, and they make haste to shed blood." Okay, so it elaborates a little bit more in the Proverbs, but we're just talking about wisdom from Proverbs. And I want to, again, remind you, the book of Proverbs is the first maybe 8 or 9 chapters are paragraphs of calling us mostly to wisdom and just telling us about things. And then when you get to chapter 9 or 10, it becomes like just one verse, a short verse of wisdom, another one, and they're unrelated, but all kinds of wisdom for living. So here's one of the things I want to give to you today, is that be careful who you associate with. Now, this really works well for teenagers, because a teenager, the trajectory of their life is going to be determined by who their friends are. But as we get into, the adult world, it's, are you working for a place that doesn't do things the right way? Well, you're going to be enticed by that, and you're going to end up, your teeth are going to be moving. The way you're living your life, the course of your life might be changing, and you don't even realize it. You're becoming, you're hanging out, you're going to bars with people, you're hanging out with people that are not very faithful. If they're married, they're not faithful to their wives. They talk about stuff that is not something that is edifying, it doesn't build up. You hang around with people like that, and you will slowly start to become more and more like them. So my encouragement, my wisdom from the Proverbs today is to choose the people you spend quality time with and lots of time with. Choose it carefully and be aware of how they live their lives, and make sure that you're not changing and becoming like them. Now, there is one reason that we spend time with people who are doing wrong, and that's to help them to see what it means to do right and what it looks like to do right. Jesus spent lots of times with sinners, but he didn't hang out with them for the purpose of he loved everything they were doing. He wanted to make a difference in their lives. So in that sense, we need to reach out to people who are doing wrong. But if they are your best friends, if they are shaping who you are, you might want to reevaluate that. Thank you so much. Wisdom from Proverbs. I hope this is helpful for you. We'll talk next week.